the Gulf of Mexico has a problem right now, and I think most anglers fishing like me will agree. So this is a small spot, pretty close to the Egmont Shipping Channel, where a lot of people tend to go for hogfish in wintertime. So you can see there's a few yellowtails, about 55 feet of water. Yellowtails have been coming further north every year, it seems like. So these are legal size fish, 12, 13 inches. Nothing huge, but still a good, bycatch while you're out fishing in this depth. So the problem we're all running into right now is that right there. Very small ledge, but wintertime, shark. There seem to be sharks everywhere. So while we're fishing, the sharks are being quite aggressive. So I get my phone camera out and I'm ready to, video. I'm like, all right, well, let's see what we can see here. Thinking we might get some cool shots of a hogfish coming up. We see this shark come up and eat his hogfish.
I think it's the right species. Oh God!
Oh, I see the shark. Oh no! You were up so high.
Oh my God!
So instead of fighting and doing anything else, he just decides to break it off. And it's not just me running into him. Anglers all around seem to be complaining. We're getting half of our fish sharked, 2/3 of our fish sharked. And it's all over on these little tiny spots. Normally, okay, you're fishing a wreck or a spring. Sure, sharks are expected. There's a lot of activity, fish, bonita, blood, just where sharks would tend to hang out with these bigger pieces of bottom. A small spot like this should not have that many sharks on it. And most of what these sharks are sandbar sharks. According to the fisheries NOAA, they were overfished, but they're not subject to overfishing. I don't know who's keeping them. Most from what I hear is the shark commercial fishery in the Gulf of Mexico is no longer really in existence. There might be a couple boats doing it, but it's no longer what it used to be. And so these populations of sharks have been allowed to thrive. Sandbars are probably the one that most anglers are running into. They look very much like bull sharks. I'm sure there are some bull sharks. We're seeing a lot of spinner sharks, hammerheads. I've ran into quite a few tiger sharks and some big ones. I'll put up a little quick video of one we ran into during a red snapper season right at sunset.
Oh. Dude, holy shit. What a big shark, boys. Watch me teasing it. Look at a tiger shark.
Dude,
Tiger shark.
all lit up.
It is a tiger, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Pretty awesome to see, but they also cause a lot of havoc for anglers. And so here's a little more video of that one that as soon as the GoPro and the big weights hit the bottom, these things come charging in. I hear it from divers as well that sharks are becoming quite an issue. So on this spot, we caught one hogfish. Then next thing you know, we think we have another one. Shark.
It feels like a Goliath now.
Oh, I think you had a hog.
Not a hog anymore.
Oh, man. So you can see there's a hogfish right there. And they don't seem to go after grunts or porgies or much other stuff. But the hogfish, because when you have a hogfish on, because it's, they have that very specific fight. So we move. We're not going to sit there and feed sharks hogfish. So we move about a mile. And the next thing I know, GoPro goes down. You can even tell the water clarity is different. This shark comes flying in and hits the camera right away. Another sandbar shark. Completely different spot. There's remoras around it. It's nothing real big. It's just a little ledge in the kind of the middle of nowhere. But that shark was fired up. Like, I'll run it back real quick. He runs into my camera as it's on the bottom. These things are being super aggressive, going after pretty much anything that's hooked that you want to keep, but not necessarily the bycatch. So red grouper, scamp grouper, grunt, nice little ledge here. One that we typically would look for hogfish. So we move again after breaking off a couple fish to the sharks. And this time I'm like, all right, well, let's just fish something flat. Nothing real crazy. Not real high relief. Just hard bottom. So good vegetation. You can see the remnants of like a little roll off there. Just good vegetation, which tends to hold hogfish in the wintertime when they start to school up. So you can see camera hits the bottom, hogfish, being curious like they are, they start showing up as well. So a couple mangrove snapper, decent looking spot. We get a couple little ones. Okay, cool. Oh, another shark in the middle of nowhere. I think they're being trained or conditioned to now come towards boats, and they hear a trolling motor and they kind of know, hey, it's going to be feeding time for us, which is unfortunate for anglers because we can't really do much about it. So this spot, bunch of hogfish. I think we got one keeper, and then we got sharked. And so what I notice on this spot, so nothing real crazy on the bottom. Stuff like this, you can tell it's hard, and that's probably, the vegetation or whatever. The shark, when we were fishing there, was sitting 30 to 40 feet below the boat. It was being picked up on the recorder there. So what this looked like while, my buddy Jeff is bringing a fish up, I get the camera ready. I'm like, cool, we get a hogfish. He had gone to a heavier rod by then. He's using a vertical jigging rod with 60-pound braid and trying to crank up this hogfish literally as fast as he can. And so I start recording, and he sees this hogfish, big male hogfish, and that shark that was sitting, up off the bottom a little bit, decides that he wants this hogfish more than we do.
Oh, I got one. That was a good fish too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my god. So that was the shark hanging out at 30 feet.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I almost had that fish up.
You saw it eat it.
That was a big shark.
So he cranked that thing up literally as fast as he could, and there was nothing he could do about it. And so I think why some of these sharks are hanging out. So the area we were fishing, if you've been keeping up with some of the technology out there now, there's a lot of mapping going on in the Gulf of Mexico. So everybody uses the same data. Pretty much everybody uses the same data. So what's been mapped is this area here. And Egmont Channel, which runs right here, is pretty much ground zero. If you go west, northwest, southwest, from there out to, 20 miles or so, you're going to have good mapping if you've got it updated on your machine. There's various platforms for it. I'm not going to try to sell one because I'm not endorsed by anybody, and honestly, I don't want to blow it out there that everybody can get these. So if you zoom in a little bit, so here's Egmont Key, Fort DeSoto, Anna Maria Island. You can see what's been mapped. And so this is the Egmont Channel. So it's got the highest quality mapping. And so I think when you're fishing around this, now a lot of people are using these mapping technologies. They're able to find, these little ledges, little breaks easier than they were in the past, which is unfortunate because I used to fish a lot of this stuff prior to the mapping. And we would have to, spend a lot of time and money and effort finding all these spots. So now everybody's kind of got access to them. So I think the sharks are keyed more on, hey, everybody's fishing around here. The mapping might do it just because it's a easier area to access for everybody. It might be, the reason sharks are around because it's just more boats. And so here's another little spot. We ran 5 miles north, got away from the shipping channel a little bit. No shark, but this spot was very interesting to me. Not much vegetation at all, but it has some interesting little ledges here. There's a real big porgy, a scamp grouper, a sheep's head, another scamp grouper. There's some gags that kind of get involved in this as well. But no vegetation, just these broad little limestone tabletops, I like to call them, where they're almost circular in shape with just undercuts all the way around them. So there's a gag there. Or actually, that's a big mango there. Triggerfish love the camera as always. And the spot's weird. It was very flat on the depth finder, but there's a hogfish, our target. And so when we started fishing, we were like, all right, we might be onto something here because various all kinds of species were coming up. And we got away from the sharks for a little bit, which was a nice change of pace. So we end up going even further north in search of bottom away from what's been mapped. So we get north of what's, mapped out there to this nice big ledge. Very rocky bottom. Just loaded with mangrove snapper. Beautiful looking spot. And once again, no sharks. So we get away from the shipping channel. We get away from the sharks. I've had other captains tell me that they've been kind of doing the same. Good looking spot. But when we were here, the fish just were not biting. Sometimes you get those windows a couple hours a day where the lull is just, it can be brutal. There are good fish. You try everything. You downsize your leader. You go to light tackle. You go to light jigs. I think I went down to a 12-pound leader trying to get mangoes using cut bait, live bait, shrimp. But sometimes they just do not want to eat. And it could be a little frustrating. But you just, use those times to work through, maybe re-rigging everything else. And then once the fishing picks back up, then you're ready to go. But good looking spot. Some vegetation, nice ledge, off the mapping, some, small fish, some big fish, some aquarium looking fish. Just a little bit of everything on this. And so there's a hogfish on the spot. Eventually we did get one. But that was pretty much it. I mean, we stayed looking at the camera, that there's good mangrove snapper. There's some scamps. There's, some hogfish. Let's give it a little bit. So we grinded it out. I got one or two, and then we decided, maybe let's just try shallower as the daylight's getting shorter in the winter time, where we can, if we get on a good bite, then we'll have a little more fishing time. So big mango, swimming there on the bottom. A lot of times if you're seeing mangoes on the camera and they're hugging the bottom, like you're looking at your depth finder and all those fish are right on the bottom. So camera goes down again. You can see the fish right on the bottom like this. They're not being very active, and they're probably not eating real well. When you start getting them 5 to 10 feet off the bottom, that's when, the bite is good. So there's even some yellowtails in here, but these fish just did not want to cooperate. I mean, there's hundreds of mangoes, and I'm doing everything. We were chumming. We had chum bags. We had dead bait. We had everything, but they just would not eat. Not even the grunts were eating. That's how slow it was at the time. But pretty cool looking spot. A lot of life, a lot of fish. I know going back here when they're biting a little better, you could fill up a box with quality fish. And so to end, we ended up going shallower. The bottom camera was dead, but we found a nice little spot with a decent bite of hogfish. So I'm using regular hog ball, pink, 1.25 ounce. My standard. I didn't get sharked all day using that rig, which is amazing to me. But we got some nice lanes, some nice hogfish, all coming together, towards the end of the day. Efficient. So this is late in the day. We've been sitting on the spot for like an hour and a half, and finally we get a nice hog. And he gets 2 in a row. Got 2 in a row off of it. It's quite nice. Nice male. And this is the very end of the day. Sorry. Very end of the day where hogs start biting, grunts stop biting, which is also nice. So you can see one on the deck there. I'm like, all right, well, maybe we're on to something here. So I'm using the 1.25 pink, my favorite. I've caught more hogfish on that than anything else with the big gun hook. He's got just a XL 2 ounce pink. Probably my second favorite. Because if you want to catch hogfish, you got to have that bait sitting right on the bottom. That's the easy way to do it. So last clip. Might have been second or third last hogfish of the day. Sharks turned off. It's quite nice. If you see something like this while you're out in 56 feet of water and your fish aren't making it to the surface, it's probably a shark chilling under your boat. And you can see where it actually, I think this was a grunt we caught. you can see the fish go up through it. The shark didn't want it. Sharks are becoming, pretty big problem in the Gulf of Mexico. During gag red snapper season, people are complaining they're out deep. During hogfish season, people are complaining they're shallow. They seem to just be everywhere right now. Springs and wrecks, if you go to them, you might look down in the water and see dozens of them. It's kind of wild. So if you're hog fishing, I suggest, beef up your tackle a little bit. Try to get them up as fast as you can. If you're getting females, try to release them as fast as you can. Give them a better chance of swimming down, getting past the sharks. It's really the only thing we can do. But there's been a lot of hogfish this year. It's been good. Once the weather stops, we're in an El Nino year, so it tends to be a little rougher. Those days the bite is going to be on. So if you get a chance, get out, get the right tackle, get you some hogfish. Thanks.